the guitar. Let's say it looks like it's streaming, all right. Guitar. Okay, well, any, mini, miny, mo. All right, we're ready to go. Okay, no problem. Dev Ripavindutia Korowe Dashe Trina Becca Patina Ripavindutia Korowe Dashe Trina Becca Tina Sakala Sahane Bolonia Toro Each of money's prayerina Sakala Sahane Bolonia Toro Chaman is prayerina Sakane Samana Korinte Shakati Teona Jaya Tapito Kaibo Odinama Suke Aparada Hoimeasa Tapito Kaibo Odinama Suke Aparada Hoimeasa Capello Kripa Lopia de Jana Gritata Huemenata Sakti Muni Hindu Amiati De Koro Moreatma Sata Sakti Muni Amiati De Koro Yogyata Hare Chunai Boy Mara Karuna Sara Yogyata Vichare Chunai Boy Tomara Karuna Sara Karuna Nai Kandiya Kandiya Prananana Kibura Karunana Oite Kandiya Kandiya Pranana Kibura Ripavindutia Koroway Jase Trina Vikarantina Sakalatsarane Okania Koro Nijamani Priyaina Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paracharya All-Sutana Sitashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalanala Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidway Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopika Padath Sayamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Chakradasami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimati Glasidevi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Parimananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is to the assembled devotees, all glory is to the assembled devotees, all glory is to the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sanama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatyateja Tarane Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So let's read the translation. Gurudev, give this servant just one drop of mercy. I am lower than a blade of grass. Give me all help. Give me strength. Let me be as you are without desires or aspirations. Gurudev, I offer you all respects, for thus I may have the energy to know you correctly. Then by chanting the holy name in great ecstasy, all my offenses will cease. Gurudev, when will such mercy fall to this one who is weak and devoid of intelligence? Allow me to be with you. Gurudev, if you examine me, you will find no good qualities. Your mercy is all that I am made of. If you are not merciful unto me, I can only weep, and I will not be able to maintain my life. Jai Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. So now we're going to get going with the Caitanya Bhagavat, and we are reading about some very, very interesting exchanges between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. So Lord Nityananda and Chaitanya, they're getting ready to go over to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's house, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is cautioning Lord Nityananda, don't act crazy. And Lord Nityananda says, I don't act crazy. Anyway, we're going to continue from this point. So, without further ado, we will actually share the screen. So, Om Ganat Timiranda Shakanan Shana Shlakya Chakshur and Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigarave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual masters, Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, let's go. Share the screen. Here we go. Oh, why isn't that working? Computer's a little slow today. Okay, there's the screen. We'll share it. Let me just see. Let me just go on the computer and eliminate the things that are slowing it down. Nothing really slowing down here. Huh. Let me just end that task. Let's just speed it up. Okay. Ooh, I think I need to make this a little larger. All right, here we are, beginning. We ended up with text 57 yesterday. Okay. Okay, here we go. Lord Vishwambar quickly went to Nityananda's residence and invited him for lunch. Actually, one thing I have to do here. Hold on a second. Get my windows properly placed. Invited him for lunch. Oh, Goswami, today I should take lunch. You should take lunch at our house, but I tell you beforehand, do not create any mischief. Nityananda held his ears and said, Vishnu, Vishnu, only madmen create mischief. I think you consider me a mischief monger because you think everyone is like yourself. Speaking in this way, they both began to laugh. They then proceeded to the Lord's house while discussing topics of Krishna on the way. They both smiled as they sat down together, accompanied by their intimate associates like Gadadhar. Ishan gave them water to wash their feet. Then the Lord and Nityananda went to eat lunch. Now, of course, Ishan is actually the servant, and he's been a servant of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda from, actually, Lord Chaitanya, from the time of Lord Chaitanya's birth. Actually, he was serving always at that house. The mood in which the two lords sat eating together resembled that of Sri Ram and Lakshman at the house of Kausalya. In this way, the two lords ate their lunch in the same mood with the same affection as the same persons. As Mother Sachi happily served them, she set out 3 plates by mistake, and they both began to laugh. When she returned to serve them more, she directly saw them as 5-year-old boys. She saw two enchanting boys, one with a whitish complexion and the other one was blackish. It's Krishna and Balaram. Both had 4 arms and both were naked. She saw that they had the conch, disc, club, lotus plow, mushala, that's a type of plow, the mark of Shivatsa, the Kostupa jewel, and their ears were decorated with shark-shaped earrings. She saw her daughter-in-law on the chest of her son. Then suddenly the whole scene disappeared. Phew. She fell to the ground unconscious, and all her clothes became wet with tears. Rice was scattered throughout the entire room. On seeing the wonderful sight, Shachi forgot herself. Mahaprabhu hurriedly washed his hands and picked up his mother. "Oh, mother, please get up. Calm yourself. Why did you suddenly fall to the ground?" On regaining her consciousness, Mother Sachi quickly tied her hair. She did not say anything as she wept inside one of the rooms. She breathed heavily and her entire body trembled. She was filled with ecstasy and nothing else came to her mind. Then Ishan cleaned the entire room and honored all the remnants. Ishan is the most fortunate person within the 14 worlds, for he served Mother Shachi throughout his entire life. Wow. In this way, many sweet pastimes took place every day. No one except the confidential servants of the Lord know about them. The topics of the Majjhikanda are like pots of nectar. By hearing these topics, the atheism within one's heart is vanquished. In this way, Gaurachandra and the devotees engaged in chanting the holy names in Navadvip. All the Lord's associates who took birth in different places gradually came to Navadvip to join him. When all the Lord's associates understood that the Lord has incarnated, their hearts were filled with ecstasy. As all the Vaishnavas saw the Lord reveal himself, they became fearless and overwhelmed with ecstasy. The Lord also accepted them as equal to his own life. They were all confidential members of the Lord's entourage. The Lord, for whom the Vedas constantly search, embraced them all with love. The Lord regularly visited the houses of his devotees and exhibited to them his various forms, such as his 4-armed and 6-armed forms. Wow. Sometimes the Lord went to the house of Gangadasa or Murari, and sometimes he went to the house of Acharya Ratna. Nityananda constantly remained with the Lord. They were never separated for even a moment. Nityananda Swarup was always absorbed in the mood of a child, and Lord Vishwambara was also absorbed in various moods. According to the respective good fortune, the devotees who were like bumblebees at the lotus feet of the Lord saw the Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Vamana, and Narasimha forms of the Lord. Wow. Some days he cried in the mood of a gopi and could not remember whether it was day or night. Some days the Lord accepted the mood of Uddhava or Krura, and some days he was absorbed in the mood of Balaram and asked for wine. Some days Vishwambara assumed the mood of 4-headed Brahma. After reciting the prayers offered by Brahma, he fell to the ground. Sometimes the Lord offered prayers in the mood of Prahlad. In this way, the Lord constantly floated in the ocean of devotional service. Upon seeing these pastimes, Sachi, the mother of the universe, floated in ecstasy. She thought within her heart, this son may also leave home. Oh. Mother Sachi said, "My dear son, go and take bath in the Ganges." The Lord replied, "O mother, please chant the names of Krishna and Ram." Regardless of whatever Mother Sachi said to her son, Vishwambara would not reply anything other than Krishna. No one could understand the inconceivable moods of the Lord. Whatever mood he assumed appeared most enchanting. One day a singer of Shiva's glories arrived. He began to play a small drum and chant the glories of Lord Shiva. He came to the Lord's doorstep for begging alms and began to dance in a circle while singing a song about Lord Shiva. As soon as Lord Vishwambar heard the qualities of Lord Shankara, he immediately took the form of Shankara with matted locks of hair. The Lord jumped on the shoulders of that singer and shouted loudly, "I am that Shankara!" Some people saw Mahaprabhu with matted locks of hair and playing a horn and damaru drum as he continually exclaimed, "Sing, sing." Whatever glorification of Shiva that great personality ever sang now bore its full fruits. Since that singer sang without offense, Gaurachandra climbed on his shoulders. After regaining external consciousness, Lord Vishwambar got down and personally placed alms in the singer's bag. Being fully satisfied, the singer left. All the devotees chanted the names of Hari. As the glories of the Lord were vibrated, devotional service to Krishna became manifest. In this way, the Lord enjoyed pastimes with his servants. The Lord said, "O brothers, listen to the essence of all advice. Why are we uselessly wasting our nights? Make a resolution that from today on, we will congregationally chant the holy names at night. We will all perform Sankirtan and become merged in the Ganges of devotional service. Let the entire world be delivered by hearing the names of Krishna. Let the holy names be the life and wealth of you all." On hearing this, all the Vaishnavas became ecstatic. Thus Mahaprabhu began his kirtan pastimes. Every night, kirtan was held at the house of Srivas, except on some nights it was held at the house of Chandrasekhara. Nityananda, Gadadhar, Advaita Srivas, Vijayanidhi, Murari, Haranya, Haridas, Gangadas, Vanamali, Vijaya, Nandana, Jagadananda, Buddhimanta Khan, Narayana Kashishra, Vasudeva, Rama Garuda Govinda, Govinda Nanda, Gopinath, Jagadish, Shriman, Sridhar, Sadashiva, Vakreshra, Sri Garva, Shuklambara, Ramananda, Purushottama, Sanjaya, and innumerable other servants of the Lord Chaitanya were present in those kirtans. They all participated in the Lord's dancing. No one other than the Lord's associates was present there. The loud roaring of the Lord and the tumultuous chanting of Hari's name shattered the covering of the universe. Wow. Hearing that sound, the atheist jumped about in anger and said, "These fellows drink wine at night. These people know the mystic perfection of madhumati." I guess that's making wine. They chant mantras at night to call the 5 virgins. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. They thought they were engaged in panchamakara, which means mangsa, madhya, matcha, mahila, matunya, meat, wine, fish, women, and sex. Ooh. And also mudra, obscene gestures. Shoo. So let me describe part of it. Let me read part of this purport. Madhumati city is achieved by invoking a particular heavenly damsel named Madhumati. Actually, probably gave that name Madhumati to one of his disciples. It is described in the Krikalasa Deepika as follows. Madhumati is a particular heavenly damsel. A sadhaka can control her through mantras. By achieving perfection in this art, hundreds of heavenly girls come under one's control. Whenever the sadhaka wants to go to either heaven, Patala, or anywhere else on earth, those girls immediately take him there. There is no doubt about this. I'm not going to teach you how to do that. 12 hours have passed and we could not sleep. All we hear is the loud sound, because these are the complaints of the citizens who are not devotees. The loud sound of bowl, bowl. It means chant, chant. In this way, the atheist spoke in anger as Sri Sachinandana blissfully engaged in kirtan. As soon as the Lord heard the sound of kirtan, he lost external consciousness and fell to the ground. The Lord repeatedly fell to the ground with such force that the earth broke into pieces and everyone became frightened. When Mother Sachi saw the Lord's soft body falling forcefully to the ground, she closed her eyes and remembered Govinda. Although the Lord fell with great force due to being absorbed in the mood of a Vaishnava, Mother Sachi felt unhappy out of affection. Mother Sachi did not know how to prevent this. She repeatedly pleaded in the following words, "O Krishna, please give me this benediction. When Vishwambar falls forcefully to the ground, may I not know anything about it. O Krishna, please show me this mercy. Although due to spiritual ecstasy he does not feel any distress, I would be happy to remain unaware of this." Realizing the inner desire of Mother Sachi, Gaurachandra awarded her appropriate spiritual happiness. As long as the Lord was engaged in congregational chanting the names of Hari, Mother Sachi remained devoid of external consciousness. Wow. External consciousness means she wasn't aware of anything except for spiritual ecstasy and Krishna's pastimes. There was no break in the Lord's ecstatic chanting. All of his associates chanted around him day and night. Sometimes the devotees chanted at the Lord's house while Sri Sachinandana danced. Sometimes the Lord manifested his mood as the supreme controller, and sometimes he cried while saying, "I am the servant." Oh, brothers, please hear attentively about the Lord's transformations of ecstatic love, which are unique throughout the innumerable universes. As Lord Gaurachandra danced in ecstasy, the devotees sang in ecstasy. On the day of Sri Harivasara, which is observed by chanting the names of Hari, the Lord, who is the life of the entire world, began to dance. That's Ekadashi, actually. Or Dwadasi, or the appearance day of the Lord. The auspicious inauguration of chanting the names of Gopal and Govinda took place in the most pious courtyard of Srivasa. Vishwambar began dancing from the time of sunrise, and the devotees sang sweetly in various groups. One group was headed by Srivas Pandit, and another group was headed by the chanting of Mukunda. As the powerful Nityananda caught hold of the Lord, Advaita secretly took the dust from the Lord's feet. The eyes of the devotees, headed by Gadadhar, filled with tears as they became overwhelmed with ecstasy in the Lord's kirtan. Now hear the next 40 verses which describe how the Lord, who is the life and soul of the entire universe, danced in ecstasy during kirtan. The name of Govinda vibrated in all directions as the son of Sachi became overwhelmed while dancing in ecstasy with his associates. Whenever the Lord cried, he cried for 3 hours. His hair became untied and scattered on the floor. Only a person whose heart is made of wood would not become overwhelmed and fall to the ground upon seeing the Lord's crying. When the Lord laughed loudly in ecstasy, he would continue laughing for 3 hours, crying for 3 hours, laughing for 3 hours. The Lord, crying and laughing are actually very similar. The Lord forgot his own glories as he became absorbed in the mood of a servant. He repeatedly exclaimed, "I have conquered, I have conquered." When Mahaprabhu chanted in great ecstasy, "I have conquered, I have conquered," the devotees also imitated him by chanting, "I have conquered, I have conquered." Sometimes the Lord sang so loudly that the sound vibration pierced the covering of the universe. Sometimes his body became as heavy as the universe. Then none of his followers could hold him still. Sometimes he would become as light as cotton, and his followers would happily carry him on their shoulders. The pure devotees happily carried the Lord on their shoulders and wandered around the courtyard. Whenever the Lord fell unconscious to the ground out of ecstasy, the devotees became frightened and chanted the name of Hari in his ear. Sometimes his entire body shook vigorously like a boy's teeth, chattering due to excessive cold. Phew. Sometimes his body perspired in such a way that it appeared like the Ganges was flowing from his body. Sometimes his body became as hot as a blazing fire, and when sandalwood pulp was smeared on his body, it dried immediately. Phew. Sometimes the Lord would sigh heavily, and everyone would move out of the way of his breath. Sometimes he tried to catch everyone's feet, and the Vaishnavas ran away out of fear. Sometimes he would sit leaning against Nityananda, and sometimes he lifted his feet, looked at everyone, and smiled. Understanding the intention of the Lord, all the devotees stole the wonderful jewel-like dust from the Lord's lotus feet. Haribol! It's very powerful. Acharya Goswami said, "My dear thief, we have broken into your hidden treasury." Vishwambar rolled on the ground in ecstasy as all the devotees sang the glories of Krishna on all sides. When Lord Vishwambar danced madly, the earth shook and everyone became frightened. Sometimes Vishwambar danced so sweetly that it resembled the enchanting dance of Nanda's son. Of course, that's Krishna. Sometimes his roaring resembled that of millions of lions, yet by his mercy, everyone's ears were saved from harm. Because it's not like that sometimes in the kirtan here. The kirtan is so loud that people's ears are damaged. Sometimes when he walked above the ground. Some people saw this, while others could not. In other words, he didn't touch the ground. In his ecstasy, whoever the Lord looked at with his red eyes would first become frightened and then run away laughing. Oh my God. Vishwambar became agitated in ecstasy and danced, forgetful of himself and others. In ecstasy, he would catch the feet of someone and then climb on his head. Sometimes he would cry while embracing someone around their neck. And then the next moment, he would climb on their shoulders. Sometimes he would become extremely restless, in the mood of a child, and make various childish noises in his mouth. Sometimes he shook his feet and laughed exuberantly. Sometimes he crawled on his knees like a small child. Sometimes Vishwambar became absorbed in the mood of Krishna in his beautiful threefold bending form. He remained in that state for 3 hours. Wow. Sometimes he would become absorbed in meditation and play a flute. Then he appeared exactly like Krishna, the moon-like Lord of Vrindavan. On regaining his external consciousness, he would cry in the mood of a servant. He would hold straw between his teeth and beg for the service of the Lord's lotus feet. Whoops. Sometimes he whirled in a circle for 3 hours, and sometimes he danced in such a way that his feet touched his head. Whatever mood the Lord exhibited was most wonderful. The son of Jagannath Mishra danced in the ecstasy of chanting his own names. Sometimes he roared so loudly that his entire body trembled. Unable to remain steady, he then fell to the ground. Although the Lord's complexion was golden, he sometimes appeared in various colors. Sometimes his 2 eyes doubled in size. In this way, the Lord, like Lord Jagannath, in this way the Lord became absorbed in the transcendental mood of a Vaishnava and spoke in words that did not befit him. Previously, whenever the Lord saw a Vaishnava, he addressed him as Prabhu. But now he would grab them by the hair and announce, "This fellow is my servant." Wow. Previously, whenever the Lord saw a Vaishnava, he would catch hold of his feet, but now he would climb on their chest and offer his feet. Oh my God. On seeing the Lord's ecstasy, the devotees wept as they embraced each other's necks. No wonder non-devotees were not allowed into that kirtan. I mean, true, that's obvious why non-devotees should not have been there. All the devotees were decorated with sandalwood pulp and flower garlands as they chanted in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. The sound of mridangas, wampers, kanchas, and karatals mixed with their congregational chanting of the holy names. Mridanga, Mandira Bhaji, Shanka, Karatal, Kanchel, Sankirtan, Sangha, Sabahela, Mashanya. The sound of Sankirtan filled the sky and pierced the covering of the universe. All inauspiciousness in the 4 directions was vanquished. This was not so wonderful, For even by the dancing of Lord's servants, all obstacles are destroyed and the entire world is purified. I remember when we saw Prabhupada dancing, then everything, all spiritual obstacles were destroyed. Ecstasy became manifest. It was like the whole world was dancing when you saw Prabhupada dance. When the Lord himself dances to the chanting of his own names, who can say what benefit is there? Can even the Puranas describe this? The son of Jagannath Mishra danced in the midst of auspicious congregational chanting of Lord Hari's holy names, which vibrated in the four directions. He whose ecstatic holy names and glories induced Lord Shiva to forget his clothes and dance was now personally dancing. That Lord, whose holy names induced Valmiki to become enriched by austerities, whose holy names awarded a Jamil with liberation, and whose holy names, when heard, destroy one's material bondage, that Lord who was incarnated in Kali Yuga has now engaged in dancing. The Lord whose holy names Shukadeva and Narada sing as they wander about, whose transcendental qualities are sung by the thousand-headed Lord Ananta, and whose holy names are the best of all forms of atonement, now personally dance before the eyes of the fortunate. I took a sinful birth, for I did not take a birth at that time, therefore I did not have the opportunity to see such a great festival. The son of Yas knew the Lord's intention, so he glorified Kali Yuga in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, that's Kaler Dosha Nadi Rajan. Ashteko Bahad Gunad Kirtan Deva Kristashas Mukta Sangha Parambhajet. And there's the translation right above us. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there's still one good quality about the sage. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. Special dispensation. As Mahaprabhu Vishwambar danced in his own ecstasy, the movement of his feet sounded most enchanting. Due to the Lord's absorption in ecstasy, his garland did not remain on his neck, but scattered at the feet of the devotees. Where did the happiness of riding on Garuda go? Where did the form holding conch, disc, club, and lotus go? Where did the happiness of lying on the bed of Ananta go? The Lord now cried and rolled on the ground in the mood of a servant. Where did the happiness of Vaikuntha go? The Lord forgot all other happiness while tasting the happiness of a servant. Where did the happiness of looking at the face of Rama, the goddess of fortune, go? Now the Lord raised his arms and face and cried in separation. Great personalities like Shiva and Narada give up their opulence and wander about as servants of the Supreme Lord, who now gave up all happiness, took straw between his teeth, and begged for devotional service. One who gives up such service and desires something else is like one who gives up nectar and desires poison. In other words, if you give up devotional service and you want something else, is you're looking for misery, poison, disgusting, like that. So what you're perceiving here or hearing about here is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's esoteric reason for appearing. Lord Chaitanya had his exoteric reason. Exoteric means Parichanaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkitam, to establish religious principles, protect the devotees, and get rid of the rascals. And that's exoteric. And esoteric basically means, esoteric basically means to enjoy from the position of a devotee, to understand the love that Radharani had for him, and to see himself from the perspective of a devotee, and to chant his name from the perspective of a devotee. And now he's doing this. So really, reading these verses, you can fully appreciate the esoteric reason or the internal reason or personal reason why Lord Chaitanya or Krishna appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right. Why does a person who does not describe the glories of devotional service recite or teach Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who teach scriptures without understanding their purport are simply carrying the burden of the scriptures like asses. In this way, they carry the burden of the scriptures without understanding their purpose. They present irrational meanings to irrational audiences. And of course, Prabhupada would criticize people who did that, like Dr. Radhakrishna, the previous president of India. Anyway, we won't get into that. I don't want to say something that's politically incorrect. The Vedas and Srimad Bhagavatam declare that service to the Lord is the greatest treasure. Lakshmi, Brahma, and Shiva are always engaged in such service. Anyone who does not believe in the words of Lord Chaitanya cannot attain him. What more can I say? Lord Sri Gaurasundara danced in the mood of a servant as the enchanting sound of kirtan vibrated in the four directions. While listening to the kirtan, Advaitacharya sometimes lost consciousness. He took straw in his hands and approached the Lord. He covered his entire body with grass and kept some on his head as he frowned while dancing. Everyone was frightened on seeing Advaitacharya's devotional service, but Nityananda and Gadadhar simply laughed. In this way, Sri Gaurasundara, the life of the entire universe, danced. He repeatedly expressed unlimited varieties of moods. The son of Shachi manifested many wonderful transformations of ecstatic love that are not found or heard of in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes his entire body was stunned in such a way that no one could even slightly bend his body. Sometimes that same body became slackened in such a way that it became as soft as butter, without any bones. Sometimes his body appeared to double or triple in size, and sometimes it appeared to shrink. Sometimes he was intoxicated in such a way that he tottered like a drunkard, and sometimes he swayed back and forth while laughing. Oops. Seeing all the Vaishnavas, the Lord called each of them by their name they bore in their previous birth. He loudly addressed them: Huladhar, Shiva, Shukadev, Narada, Prahlad, Rama, Uja. That's Lord Brahma. Uddhava. In this way, the Lord revealed their actual identities by speaking about them in various ways. All the Lord's servants happily watched as the Lord displayed his unparalleled ecstatic love for Krishna and unparalleled dancing. Only those who had previously entered the house of Srivas were allowed to see those pastimes. The door was firmly locked by the order of the Lord. The ordinary people of Nadia were not able to enter. People like me. Thousands, on hearing the loud kirtan, people came running. But being unable to enter, they stood at the door. Thousands of people loudly clamored, "Open the door! Quickly, we want to see the kirtan!" All the Vaishnavas were so absorbed in the ecstasy of kirtan that they were not aware of their own bodies. So what did they know of others? The materialists, being unable to enter the house, spoke harsh words outside. Someone said, "These fellows beg to fill their bellies." They are ashamed of being recognized, so they do not open the door. Someone else said, "That is the truth. Otherwise, why would they cry out for 24 hours? Another person said, "Oh, brothers, these people bring wine and drink at night unseen by others." Another person said, "Previously, Nimai Pandit was a good person. Why has Lord Narayan changed his heart like this?" Someone said, "I think this is due to his previous activities." Someone else said, "This is due to bad association." He does not have a father to guide him, and he is afflicted by gastric disorders. Now Nimai has become affected by bad association. Wow, poor Nimai. I wish I had that bad association. Someone said, "He has stopped all studies, and if one does not study for a month, he forgets all grammar." Someone said, "Oh, brothers, I know the secret why they close the door and perform kirtan. At night, they recite mantras to bring 5 girls along with various palatable foods. They eat, they wear sandalwood paste and garlands, they dress in fine clothes, and they enjoy with girls in various ways. If other people saw this, they would be embarrassed. Therefore, they enjoy behind closed doors. Someone said, let tomorrow come, and we will go to the court and have each and every one of them tied around the waist and arrested. There was never any kirtan in this state before, but these people have ruined everything here by introducing kirtan and causing famine. Know for certain that because of them, the demigods are not showering rain, the paddy fields are dried up, and no one can make any money. Just wait, tomorrow we will take care of Srivas and see what we do tomorrow to Advaitacharya. We do not know where this Nityananda Avaduta came from. He stays at the house of Srivas and enacts all these dramas. Although the materialists threatened their devotees in this way, the Vaishnavas who were in ecstasy did not hear anything. Someone said, dancing is not appropriate for Brahmins. Why do they engage in such activities even after studying the scriptures? Someone else said, they are not fit to be seen. By conversing with them, all of our piety will be lost. If a gentleman sees such dancing and chanting, he also becomes like them. See for yourself. Previously, Nimai Pandit was most intelligent. Now, by the association of these fellows, his mind has changed. Someone said, they have not realized the self. They do not know what their loud calling will yield. The Supreme Brahman is present within one's body. These people are like those who lose something at home and search for it in the forest. Someone else said, what is the use of criticizing others? Let's go home. What is the use of watching? Someone said, we could not see due to our past misdeeds. They are fortunate. So why should we blame them? So that is called the sour grapes philosophy. In other words, because you couldn't have something, you think it's useless or worthless and not interesting. And I think the story goes, if I remember the sour grape story properly, once upon a time, there was a fox, and the fox had some grapes. And what the fox did is he went to the well, and he saw a reflection of himself. And he saw, oh, there's another fox with better grapes than me. So he went to try to get these grapes, and then he dropped his own grapes in the well, and he lost the grapes. And he said, oh, they were sour anyway. And anyway, that's one version of the story. Sour grapes means something you couldn't have, and you say, it's useless anyway. Those devotees, useless anyway. Even though you couldn't get it, you would like to have it, you would like to have Prabhupada's association, but you didn't have it, so too bad. You can have it if you read Prabhupada's books. Okay. The atheists gathered together and chased that person away, thinking, he is one of them. In other words, the person who was thinking of sour, he was thinking, I wish I was there. And the atheists got angry at them. What is the loss if we do not see their kirtan? Their kirtan is like a big argument among hundreds of people. We do not see any japa, any austerities, or any cultivation of spiritual knowledge amongst them. They simply engage in their concocted activities and ruin their caste by gathering rice, bananas, milk, and yogurt and eating together. People came to see and ridicule them. Let us see what these madmen are doing. Whoops. After speaking like this, they went home. As one left, another came and knocked at the door. As soon as two atheists met together, they embraced and fell to the ground, laughing loudly. They would also go and bring others who had not seen what was going on, yet some persons, on the advice of others, would refuse to go. Oh, brother, I have seen and heard everything. Along with Nimai, they've all become mad. It sounds like the tumultuous croaking of frogs or the wild celebration of the Durga Puja festival in the house of Shivas. The only thing we can hear is, hey, hey, hoo. These people bring infamy upon us. Infamy means they're ruining our reputation. Nadia has thousands of exalted bhattacharyas, means intelligent people, yet such impostors also live here. Tomorrow we will drive the Brahmin Srivas out of Nadia, then we'll break his house and throw it in the river. When this Brahmin ruins the prosperity of the village, the Yavanas will become powerful here. In this way, the atheists made a great commotion, yet, nevertheless, they were all most fortunate. They took birth in the same village as the Lord, and they saw and heard about his pastimes. The followers of Lord Chaitanya were intoxicated in the mellows of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, the statements of the materialists did not enter their ears. Day and night they happily chanted, Jai Krishna, Murari, Mukunda, Vanamali. Vishwambar danced day and night with the devotees. No one became tired, for they all had spiritual bodies. A number of yugas passed as 1 year, with no one understanding due to the ecstasy of being with Lord Chaitanya. While a number of yugas passed during the Rasa Leela pastime, the gopis thought that only a moment had passed. In this way, Krishna manifests inconceivable pastimes that are known only to the fortunate servants of Lord Chaitanya. In this way, Vishwambara Mahaprabhu danced until only 3 hours of the night remained. So you see, actually, Krishna has the ability to stretch time or compress time, depending on the situation. And just for certain people, he can stretch time. And then the rest of the world goes on with normal time. I mean, because as Krishna says, Kalo Asmi, in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, time I am. When he's asked by Arjuna, who are you? He said, time I am. And I've come, well, the Bhagavad Gita says, I've come to destroy everyone. So, all right, so we'll end the ecstasy now, and we'll stop sharing. And we will, give me a second, we will allow you all fortunate souls to ask a question if you really want to. So you could raise your hand, or you can type in the chat window, or you can unmute yourself.
I
Haribol.
have a question. So I can't help with my materialistic consciousness make some comparisons between what's being described here and present day situations where people are criticizing who other people regard as highly advanced pure devotees. I mean, of course, it's not just pure devotees, it's pure devotees in this case, and plus the Supreme Lord himself.
Yes.
And some of their behaviors that are being criticized, do seem a little questionable, especially, of course, Lord Nityananda drinking wine, approaching every lady and asking if she'll marry him. I mean, various things like that. And Lord Chaitanya himself, I mean, it wasn't described obviously in this story, but beating up Advaitacharya and chasing his student with a stick because the student asked him why he was chanting Gopi Gopi. But the fact is, these people who are criticizing, from their point of view, they just want, I guess, authenticity, someone who's actually, advanced, but they're actually making great offenses. So how do we properly judge the advancement of a Vaishnava?
Oh, that's a good question. So, do we have people acting like Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya today?
Well, we do have gurus who, we end up considering them to be fallen or advanced devotees, not necessarily gurus, who, maybe they were secretly, but see, again, there's like secrecy going on, so they're behind closed doors, which is the other thing that's like red flags for people. It's like, why are they doing things in secret? Why aren't they just being open about their activities? They must be hiding something. So, I mean, we have had devotees who seem to be in excellent standing, gurus or not, who then it was discovered that they were, doing horrible things in secret. Or we have, I mean, Lord Nityananda wasn't secretive about his activities. And I think
he never did a horrible thing. He never drank wine. He never had illicit sex. He never really, I mean, he did things in secret, like the kirtan, but there was nothing, ultimately, we're reading about it, there was nothing really improper going on. So it's a little bit different than nowadays. You have someone who's discovered doing something secretly or not so secretly or having illicit activities or whatever. And then we know, I mean, certainly Krishna's going to give them mercy like he gave. I mean, I have some god brothers who had some spiritual difficulty and they left the society. And then at the end of this life, Krishna gave them mercy and they came back and passed away in Vrindavan. So they're dear to Krishna, but we shouldn't really think that they're like very, very advanced devotees. I mean, or, worthy of worship if they're actually perform some abominable activity that we know about. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda never performed an abominable activity. I mean, Lord Chaitanya's beating up a Dvaitacharya was not abominable. Lord Dvaitacharya wanted that. And so abominable would be, listen, Lord Chaitanya was very careful in his dealings with women, even as a householder, what to speak of as a sannyasi. And Lord Nityananda was, I mean, he had some like really wild pastimes, but not breaking the principles, like sitting on the lap of Malini, who was Srivas Thakur's wife, and then, anyway, being fed by her. So I mean, it's some pretty unusual stuff, but he's God. There's also a difference between what God does and what his devotees are allowed to do. That's also another uh, duality or difference. I mean, for example, like Krishna married 16,108 wives. His devotees are not allowed to marry 16,108 wives. His devotees are not allowed to dance with girls in the middle of the night. Devotees can't lift Govardhan Hill. Lord Shiva can drink an ocean of poison. So these are Ishwaras, these are controllers who can get away with a lot more. And they're, what is that, a papavidam? They're actually not subject to contamination. Whereas if any of us, regular conditioned souls like myself, do any of these things, it means that we're not very advanced in devotional service. Like, of course, I'm not going to dance with, I don't even know how to dance. So if I was going to try to dance with gopis, they'd probably throw me out because I'd probably step on all their feet and they'd be in trouble. So anyway, I mean, if I was to do any of these things, or let's say if there was an older Vaishnava and I beat him up because he wanted to be, he wanted me to beat him up or something like that. I mean, then I'd go to jail or something like that. These are, first of all, we have to, that's an important point. We have to differentiate between the Jiva souls and Vishnu Tattva. And so, Krishna also says, my devotees consider saintly. You can refer to that in spite of the most abominable action because he's rightly situated. But Prabhupada says that's only refers to accidental deviation. That doesn't refer to premeditated or constant deviation. So we have to be really careful about thinking someone's really advanced when they're doing abominable activities. Just really careful about that. And whether they're doing abominable activities in private or public, when it'll come out eventually, like it came out about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities, Lord Nityananda's activities. It comes out ultimately in the wash, but he's God. There's a different standard. So, you have to be really careful about these things. If I understand, someone has Krishna's mercy, like my god brother Surya Abhi Palyantam Swami, who fell down and he came back at the end, and he had Prabhupada's mercy, and as a result of Prabhupada's mercy, Krishna might have taken him back to Godhead at the end because he went to Vrindavan and surrendered to Krishna. But that doesn't mean he was always a great soul. We should have just overlooked the point that he was doing whatever he was doing before, which I'm not going to get into. It actually is a disqualification. It's a disqualification. I mean, and of course, someone can pick themselves up, yes, and become a great soul. We don't consider the past of the Vaishnavas, but really, if someone engages in premeditated, abominable activities, then that person, those activities, and the person at that time is not considered saintly. But afterwards, the person can become saintly. There's a little bit of difference. It's not that we say that, oh, this is just, it's a minor deviation. It's not a minor deviation when someone has a constant, because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says we don't criticize Vaishnavas for accidental fall downs, but something that is constant, planned, premeditated, continual, which is the same thing as constant, is not under that particular heading. That means the person at that time, and in the future, Jagan and Madai, in the future, they became great personalities, but while they were doing those activities, they were not great personalities. Someone has to rectify, and rectify also means apologize, make some compensation, restoration. It's really like Jaya and Madai. They actually were given service by Lord Chaitanya. They admitted it, and then they were given service by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They constructed a bathing ghat and served all the Vaishnavas who came to the bathing ghat and dedicated their life for the rest of their life serving the Vaishnavas. That's how we can tell if someone is actually repentant. But otherwise, no. They're not. This is, so we again, we Jiva souls fall under a different category than the Vishnu Tattva entities. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, real quick. Yeah.
Okay, so what if someone experiences a loss of taste in the process when they reject a fallen preceptor, not necessarily a Diksha guru, but someone they considered a guru? Is there loss of taste because of their rejection of that person who inspired them in spiritual life?
There's a loss of taste if we feel negatively and feel that someone has to suffer. And that may happen if we feel negatively about anybody and wish bad for anybody. But no, rejection, actually, Narahari Sarka says, even in regard to Diksha Guru, that if one doesn't, in their mind, reject such a person, one could fall down. There's a whole quote, Krishna in the Krishna Bhajanamrita by Narahari Sarka. And that's in regard to the Diksha Guru, or any Vaishnava, Diksha or Siksha Guru, that if one doesn't reject, then anyway, it's actually the duty of a person to reject someone who's engaged in abominable activities as a guide. But we pray for the person. We still remain compassionate. We're not angry with the person. Oftentimes we find that someone gets angry with the person or even rejects certain things that the person may have said that are bona fide and shastric. But and that's another thing. But the person himself, it's actually essential that we have a disconnect. According to Narahari Sarka in the Krishna Bhajanamrita. And, because it's actually dangerous. Okay, does that explain it?
Yeah, that's helpful. If the person reforms themselves, should they be reinstated as one's guru?
No.
Okay.
No, they can't be reinstated as one's guru after that point. As a Vaishnava, we respect them, but we just have to be careful. And, rectification depends upon the severity of the offense. It's not just like stopping the activity. It's not just stopping the activity. It's a question of, compensation, rectification, humility. All those things like that. It's just like, let's say I was drinking wine, which I never drank as a devotee. During my bar mitzvah, I was forced to do it when I was 13 years old. So anyway, So let's say I was drinking wine, and so I had to stop. Not only that, but just like admit it and humbly fall down before the feet of the Vaishnavas and beg for forgiveness and take a humble position for the rest of my lives. I mean, Jagai and Malay did not become gurus, did not become spiritual preceptors or anything like that. So it's really important to understand that point. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
it. That's it. Okay, sorry. All right,
No,
thank you very much. Interesting
helpful.
question. All glories to His divine grace, to the Prabhupada,